what is the Tamer Fund for Social Ventures? The fund makes seed grants to nonprofit, for-profit, and hybrid early-stage Columbia University affiliated social and environmental ventures that can be located anywhere around the world. We have 2 fund cycles every year, and they are aligned with the academic semesters here at Columbia University. And keep in mind that these deadlines are 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you are located in a time zone that is not Eastern Time, just keep that in mind so you can get your application in on time. Funding is made available to about 3 or 4 ventures each cycle, which adds up to about 7 ventures each year split between the 2 cycles. And selected ventures receive a grant of up to $25,000 and ongoing support and connections through the Tamer Center once you've received that grant. So what do we look for in ventures? First, of course, is social or environmental impact. It is, after all, the Tamer Fund for Social Ventures. And the way we define it, just to read some text off the slide here, social and environmental ventures produce products or services that either focus on addressing the needs of low-income communities or customers, alleviate a market failure, and create significant public goods or benefits that are not wholly captured in the price charged by the business, or have attracted funding by investors or grant makers who are seeking measurable social or environmental impacts. That's a very long way of saying that to be eligible, your venture should be trying to solve a social or environmental problem. And that's one of the questions that's kind of front and center on the initial application round, the online application. So if you can't answer what is the social or environmental mission or problem that you're trying to solve, this may not be the best fit for your venture. Next, we look at the team. And before applying to the Tamer Fund, ventures should have a strong team in place. And also, to be eligible, ventures must be led by Columbia University current students, alumni, faculty, or researchers from any of Columbia's 20 schools, or be advised and have significant involvement by Columbia University faculty or researchers. One question we receive a lot is, are ventures that are advised by Columbia University alumni eligible? And unfortunately, they are not. Also, the entire team doesn't need to be Columbia University affiliated. Just one founding member or one significantly involved faculty or research advisor is sufficient to apply to the Tamer Fund. There's also no limit after graduation for alumni to apply. So if you're an alum from 20 years ago, completely eligible for this fund. Next, we look for ventures to be financially self-sustaining, and preference is given to ventures that have this potential. Since we are open to nonprofit organizations as well, nonprofits should either show that they have a plan to be sustaining on donations and a specific plan for how they're going to achieve that, or the nonprofit can be sustained by generating revenues via fee-for-service models, for example. Also, to be eligible for the fund, you must not have closed your seed funding round at the time of application. We're targeting early stage ventures here, so that's one way we kind of think about that. And then lastly, we look at venture strength. So we look at customer demand, we look at your business model, and we also analyze whether or not we think your venture will be operational in 3 to 5 years, because we want to be funding ventures that are going to be around for the long term. So how do we evaluate ventures? We have this rubric posted on our website, so if you want to go back and look at it later, it's posted there. But essentially, we have these 5 kind of criteria that we look for, and each of them is weighted equally, and we score the venture on a scale of 1 through 5 and add them up. And a lot of these mirror what I was just talking about on the previous slide. So we look at your team. Do you have your team in place? One place we see a lot of ventures getting hung up is, for example, if they are a tech venture. So they're doing an app or something along those lines, but they don't have a CTO yet. That's kind of where they can get dinged, for example, on this team assessment. We look at customer demand. So do you have some evidence of traction? Do you have customers signed up? Have you done a beta test? Do you just have some sort of evidence of customer demand? We look at your business model. We look at your impact. So what is that social or environmental problem that you're trying to solve with your venture? And then again, are you going to be operational in 3 to 5 years? What I was just talking about on the previous slide. So what should ventures consider before applying? The key thing, if there's only one thing that everybody remembers walking away from this webinar, is typically ventures can only apply once for funding from the Tamer Fund for Social Ventures. So this is not a fund where we recommend, just submitting an application, seeing how it goes, and then reapplying at a later date if it doesn't go well the first time. We typically, like I said, only accept one application per venture. So we really, really strongly encourage you to apply when you think your venture has the best chance of being successful. But at the same time, you still have to be pre-seed. So you can't be a venture that is super far along and then submit your application. So it's a fine balance here, and I'm happy to talk to any ventures who are trying to figure out kind of when that best time to apply would be. But hopefully what I'm just going to go through on the rest of this slide might at least get you started thinking about when that time might be for your venture. So if you are a current student, first and foremost, we recommend taking the courses offered at Columbia University. If this is something you want to be doing after graduation, there is no better way to kind of prepare yourself than to take these courses. And a couple of them that we recommend are Launching Social Ventures and Social Venture Incubator, which are taught here at the business school. There's Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Columbia, which is open to cross-campus students, and then Venturing to Change the World is an undergraduate course. And I believe a lot of these are open for cross-registration. So if you're interested, if you're a current student interested in taking these courses, and you're not at the business school or Columbia College, which is where some of those are specifically housed, first step would be to talk to your home school's Office of Student Affairs and figure out what that cross-registration process or even auditing process may look like for you specifically. Taking these courses will help you to maximize your chances of submitting a successful application. And a lot of times, ventures that go through these courses address a lot of the issues that they might get dinged for through this Tamer Fund application process. So it's just a good way to kind of do a sanity check before applying to the fund and address some issues that might knock you out of the running. And then in terms of what I was talking about before, when kind of the best time to apply for your venture is, we encourage you to apply when your venture can address the following questions. So first, what is the intended social impact of your venture? How socially innovative is it? What is the potential to scale? What metrics can be used to measure its success? Next, what is your business model and how likely is it to succeed? So how are you actually going to go about doing whatever it is your mission is? And Business Model Canvas is a good place to start. If you've never heard of it, you can just Google it. It's a good way to kind of start thinking through your business model. And then, has the venture already attracted the needed resources, including the management team, advisors, customer, client, or stakeholder connections, and other sources of funding? So if you can't answer one or all of these questions, maybe you might want to consider waiting a round or two. We accept applications about every 6 months for the Tamer Fund. So if August 15th, if you can't answer these questions, you really only have to wait until March for the next round to come around. We do these relatively frequently. So just keep those things in mind before you submit your application. As like I've said, and I'll say it again, you can only apply once for funding from the Tamer Fund for each venture. So what does our selection process look like? First step is to submit an online application, and our online application is housed through the F6S platform. And once you have a profile there, the great thing about F6S is that you can apply for other incubators, other competitions. So once you have a profile set up, hopefully it's useful to you down the road as well. All applications go through an initial screening process from the center. So a team of us reads through all submitted applications, and then we select approximately 20 ventures to go through our due diligence round. Just to give you a sense of numbers, we got about 130 applications last time around, and then we whittled that down in the first round to 20 ventures to go through due diligence. So for those 20 ventures that are selected, we put you through our due diligence process, and this entails being matched with a student due diligence team. And these students are enrolled in a class here at the business school called Investing in Social Ventures. And the due diligence process lasts for 6 weeks. So what is asked of ventures at this stage is to work with your due diligence team over the course of those 6 weeks and answer any questions that your student due diligence team has so that they can adequately do the due diligence on your venture. Also, one thing to note in the due diligence process is there is a required pitch that each venture must make to the class. So if you're located here in New York City, great, we invite you to come to campus and pitch to the students enrolled in this course. If you're not located here in New York City, we work with the venture to do a pre-recorded pitch and then you dial in for Q&A. So we have lots of experience working with international ventures, so don't worry too much about that. So at the end of that 6-week process, after you've been answering questions with your due diligence team and they've kind of gotten all the information they need from you, that student team produces a feedback and recommendations report that goes to you as the venture. So this process is intended to be useful even to ventures who don't end up getting funding from the Tamer Fund. And then here at the Tamer Center, we get the full due diligence report that we read through and use to select approximately 7 ventures that move on to the next round and pitch to our investment board. Again, the investment board is located here in New York, so if you can't pitch in person, if you're not located here in the city, we'll work with you to do a pre-recorded pitch and then dial in for Q&A. One thing to note here is that if you are a current student and you are applying to the Tamer Fund for your venture, you may not enroll in the Investing in Social Ventures course in the same semester in which you apply for your venture, because then you get into a weird situation where a student could be doing due diligence on their own venture, which we of course want to avoid. So after the due diligence process, like I said, we pick about 7 ventures to pitch to our investment board. And they are the ones who ultimately make the final decision for who gets funded. So the board each semester selects approximately 3 or 4 ventures to receive the funding. And then once you get the grant, we also provide ongoing support and connections for our portfolio ventures. So what does that support look like? I highly recommend checking out, if you haven't already, the link on our website. Just go to the Tamer Fund website and then it's the 3rd tab over. It's called Other Resources for Social Venture Teams, where we list comprehensively all of the resources that we can provide. But this is just kind of a high-level overview. One thing to note is that we aim to be a resource for all Columbia-affiliated social and environmental ventures, whether or not you receive a grant from us. But of course, particular attention and support is given to our portfolio ventures. We host webinars and workshops for ventures. We'll help subsidize co-working space, whether that's here at the Columbia Startup Lab in New York City or elsewhere around the world. We have a social venture advisory network comprised of professionals and alumni from all kinds of sectors and industries who are interested in mentoring and working with early stage ventures. We will help support summer interns. So if you as a venture want to host a summer intern from any of Columbia's 20 schools, we will help financially support that intern. We have pro bono connections, all kinds of legal connections, all kinds of consulting groups that we can connect ventures with. And then of course, faculty, staff, and alumni support. So, how do I get more information? First step would be to go to our website. You can either follow that tiny URL link or just Google Tamer Fund for Social Ventures, Columbia University, and it should come up. And then for questions, please email us at tamersvfund@gmail.com. That's the best way to get in touch.